Hello and welcome. My name is Kate Marion. I'm a program manager at DC's Department of Small and Local Business Development in our Innovation and Equitable Development Division. We're really excited today to be able to host some of our partners from the Department of Employment Services regarding the 2024 Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program. This is information for DC businesses who may be interested in hosting a summer youth through this amazing and awesome program. I think Amy will be able to tell us how many years it's been running. I know it's been running for a number of fantastic years. I don't know how many those are. But I'm going to turn things over to Amy Powell, and I will be here to support the session. Amy, please take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Amy Powell, and I am a workforce development specialist with the Office of Youth Programs, which is within the Department of Employment Services. Thank you guys for joining today. I am a program liaison for the Marion S. Barry Summer Youth Employment Program, in which my job is to seek new partners for either small or large businesses who are wanting to partner with us for the summer program. So what I did is I created a little slideshow. So we'll go through the slides. I know this is being recorded. So I know Kate will send that out to everybody so that you can use this as a resource if you need to go back. I will also give my information to Kate, which I believe she already has. In the event that anyone has any questions or concerns, you can email me directly. So again, we want to welcome you. This year is our 2024 Marion S. Summer Youth Employment Program information session. And so today, what we're going to do is just give you guys information pertaining to that. And what it does is we want to ensure our youth have a great summer and engaging experience. Let me see. Okay, the next slide doesn't want to work. Let's see, there we go. So this year marks our 45th year of the program. And what we are a locally funded initiative. And what we do is we provide district residents ages youth 14 to 24 with a summer work experience. And this could be through subsidized or unsubsidized placements. And we have multiple sectors, private sector, which of course I am in charge of, government sector, which includes local and federal agencies, our community-based community-based organizations, and then our schools, which include DCPS, public, charter, and private schools. So what does that mean? So really for our young people, it gives them the opportunity, of course, to earn money through the program, which is paid for by the Department of Employment Services within our program. So they technically are government employees for those 6 weeks. But they're getting gainful work experience by, job shadowing at your business. So it kind of, in my opinion, works as a win-win because you're giving someone an opportunity to learn a new skill or possibly one that they already know, as well as earn some money. And in the process, you're also getting, I guess you could say labor. And so what it does is it helps them develop skills and, like their attitude, time and attendance, how to be accountable, and all of the things that they need, those soft skills that they need to be successful in today's workforce. And then they can gain exposure to different industries. Right now we have, hotel, IT, food service, construction, administrative, there's a lot of different career industries that private sector covers. And I think we cover the most out of any other sector because there's so many different local businesses in the area. And so for last year was kind of our motto was back to business, and that was our theme for last year, in which with COVID, we had a lot of virtual and hybrid sites. Last year we were trying to do what we call back to business, which was we're trying to get back to 100% in person. Now we do have some of our host partners that still run a hybrid program, or we do have some of our bigger sites that do grants and contracts, and those are usually more of a virtual base. But like our private sector, a lot of them want young people to be in person because this is your business. It's open every day. You deal with the public. And so, our goal was to be 100% in person. So our theme this year, I want to say if I have it written down, I might not have written it down, our theme this year. I did not. I thought that I did, but that's okay. So what does MBSYEP look like in person? So for most of you who don't know, we roughly put about 14,000 young people to work for 6 weeks. This year, the summer program launches on June the 24th, which is a Monday, and it goes to August the 2nd, which is a Friday. And during those 6 weeks, we employ 14,000 young people, which is a lot. And so this is why we need more partners. And this is why we've partnered with DSLBD to try to bridge that gap between local businesses and our organization. So we have a couple of different curriculums. Career Edge is something that we use through our orientation, and it was something that came about during COVID, in which some of our hybrid programs utilize, in which they'll have the young people come in person, and then some days they might have them do some Career Edge curriculum, which is just really a place that they can go to do workforce development modules. However, if you are 100% in person, that this wouldn't really apply to you. And so, our safety for our young people is our number one concern, of course. And so, we would do what's called a pre-site visit if you did apply for our program, and that's really just to come out to do a safety check of your business. And so what does it benefit for your business? So some of the benefits is you have access to 14,000 young people ages 14 to 24. You would have the opportunity to look at resumes online. Usually around the 18th of April, they will become available online, and they would be open for 1 month. You have the opportunities to select your own young people, which means you can go on, look at resumes. You can do over the phone interviews. Some of our private sector businesses, they even do like Zoom calls, they'll do Teams calls. Right now we're on WebEx, so there's plenty of different social media platforms that you can do interviews as well. And then we, of course, supplement those wages in which I just discussed. So you get the workforce and we supply the wages. So I feel like really for businesses, it really is a win-win situation. We also, once the program starts, we will provide transportation costs until they get their first pay. So we give them Metro cards so that they can get to and from their place of employment. And of course, it gives you guys great exposure to your business as well as your organization. I know we're going to start doing an initiative where we're going to start highlighting businesses on our social media page, just to also give you guys that extra boost for exposure as well. And of course, we've been a pillar of the district for 40 years. Like I said, this year marks 45 years for us, which is a really, really, really long time. So how can you become a host site? Host employers, you can sign up through summerjobs.dc.gov. At the top, there will be some tabs. There is an employers tab, and if you click on that, it will take you to the employers tab, in which it will say for new registrants, please click here. Once you click on, of course, information would be required. Of course, your contact information would be required. Your work site address, like where they would actually be working for the year, as well as position descriptions as well. And so this is kind of like what the host portal looks like. So once you complete the initial registration, you would need to log back in. And then this is where you would enter the information. You would put the worksite information, you would put the employee information, or who's actually going to be overseeing the young person, and then your job posting information. And this is really like a job description that you would put in the paper or on Indeed when you're looking for a qualified candidate. And that's where you're going to be putting in detail like what that young person would be doing. If you are interested, I also have a a host registration PDF that goes step by step on how to register to become a host. And Kate, I will also send that over to you at the conclusion. I will email that over to you. And that if anyone is also interested, we can also send that host registration step-by-step instruction tutorial, and then that will give you a step-by-step on how to do it. And so really now, as far as like the MBSYEP team, so we have what's called liaisons. Of course, I am a program liaison for private sector, but as I mentioned, we also have different sectors, like we have district government, we have federal government, we have schools, including, you know, charter, private, public, and community-based organizations. And so we are the primary contact for you guys for the summer. And so what I'm responsible for, of course, one, providing information to you. That's first and foremost. I'm very transparent. And so I feel if I can give you guys all of the information up front and be as transparent as possible, in which I'm having, you know, multiple orientations and training sessions, I feel that that makes you more successful for the summer. Also, it's my job to provide support as well throughout this time up until we get to the summer and throughout the summer. Whether it's a phone call or an email, I'm there to provide support and guidance to you as well. And then, of course, we're facilitating transfers. Sometimes a young person will come to your site and maybe they have a medical condition and, you know, they can't work at your site and they didn't let you know that medical condition up front, but maybe they would be able to do that. Well, we would work together, and then I would be in charge of transferring that young person out. Also, if there's pay discrepancies, if you have to terminate a young person, that does happen as well. And we do get more into that during our orientation process, where we go over pay, attendance, timesheets, all of that good stuff. So then I kind of briefly talked about our program monitors. And so our program monitors are our summer employees, and what they do is they monitor our sites. So what they do is they do a pre-site visit. Once you sign up for the program, someone would reach out to you, find out a good day and time that someone could come out to your site. And what we do is we really just do a safety check, like checking for exit signs, making sure that you have proper heating and air conditioning, or you actually, like there's no broken windows, just to ensure that it's a safe space. And then during the summer, they would do 2 site visits over the course of the summer. Usually they do one the first 3 weeks of the program and one the last 3 weeks of the program. So your monitor would reach out to you prior to the start of the program and introducing themselves, letting them know that they are your monitor for the summer. And so if you have any questions or concerns, you can always reach out to that monitor throughout those 6 weeks. And then in turn, if it's something that they cannot handle, they would either bring it to my attention, and then I would handle it from there. And so they're really there. What they do is they come out during those 6 weeks and they're just seeing what the young people are engaged in, seeing what your program is about, writing that up. And then, you know, we just submit those papers. And then, like I said, if there's issues at the site, then we would also be contacted to come out as well. And so for a host employer, so each work site has to have a host employer. So I'll give you guys an example. So let's say Ben and Jerry's. So Ben and Jerry's is one of our new partners this year, and they have multiple sites. And so with multiple sites, each site has to have a supervisor at that site because they will be overseeing the young person. And so each site has to have a host supervisor and a timekeeper. Now the host supervisor and the timekeeper can be the same person. So say for instance, I have a small business. I'm the point of contact. I'm going to be overseeing the young person and I'm going to be doing the young person's time. So you could be all 3 of those things. Some of our larger organizations, they might have multiple people. So they might have a supervisor and then someone specifically just to enter the young person's time. Now entering time, we do a training on that. It's very simple. You would have pre-populated timesheets. and you would just be required to enter their time in once a week. But like I said, it's pretty simple how the time is entered. And then so some of the things that you guys would be responsible for, of course, is you would be the primary contact for the work site, meaning that if you registered, the person that you put down would be the person that I would contact, whether it's sending out emails, contacting with making a call, or sending an email out. That would come strictly to the primary point of contact. And then, of course, um, all supervisors should, collect the required documentation. So, like, sign in and sign out sheets are usually pretty important. Some of our hosts, like I'll say like Smoothie King, they let the young people use their time management system that they have for everybody. And so that's the way that they clock in and clock out. Some of our other host partners have sign in and sign out sheets. So it's really, really geared to how you run your business. And so, of course, we want to make sure that the young people are supervised at all times, that they would, get their lunch break, that they're following your time and attendance, that they're following your rules, not our rules, because each business is different. So I always tell all of my host partners, you would run the business the same if this is a normal employee. So if they're showing up late for work and they do that so many times, then you have a right to terminate them, and so on and so forth. So because at the end of the day, we're trying to get them gainful work experience, and they would not do that in a normal setting. So we're expecting this to run just like a normal business. And then at the end of the year, we do performance evaluations on our young people, and we have like outstanding young people awards that you can nominate a young person for that award. So really the next steps would be, of course, if you're interested, to fill out the application. Once you fill out the application, of course, the pre-site visit would be next. And then once you've completed the application, if you're looking to serve 18 and younger, you would be required to fill out a background check. There's no cost to you. However, most of our private sector companies, they do like to take our older young people, which is 18 to 24. However, like I said, if you are taking younger people under the age of 18, you will be required to have a background check. We do have a mandatory host orientation. I usually do one in person and I do two virtual. You only have to attend one, but I do understand that people can't leave their businesses. And so they might not be able to do an in-person orientation. So we'll do something like this where we do I have a PowerPoint, and we go over the host orientation, and then I send it out to everyone so that you have that as backup as well. So there is the host orientation, and in that host orientation, we go over lots and lots of things like attendance, pay, all the rules and regulations, open it up for questions. And then after that, we also do a timekeeper and supervisor orientation, in which we go over the time management system, and I show you and break down how to enter the time, which is usually pretty easy. And then after that, we would place the job announcements, which is usually to be determined, but the job announcements for the young people usually come out at the beginning of June. Now, we do have a career expo every year at Arena Stage, which this year will be on April the 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if you are registered or if you are registered with the program prior to the end of March, you would have the opportunity to come to the Career Expo. So what the Career Expo is, I think it's very good for employers. So we invite a lot of our participants. Now, of course, all participants can't attend because we generally do it during DCPS's spring break. So, you have charter schools, and you also have private schools that their spring breaks might be different. We have a lot of young people who are in college, and so they're not home during this time. But it's a good opportunity. What you do is you come, you set up a table. We bring the participants in throughout the day, and they walk around. It's a good opportunity to meet and greet participants, to do on-site interviews if you would like to do that, to get a feel to see if you can find, someone that you would like to work at your site for the summer, or they possibly want to work with you. Once that's complete, then that's when the youth and the host portal opens up and job selection begins. And then I would have a training on how job selection works, meaning how to navigate inside of your portal to look at those resumes to see if you would like to, and I really do stress job selection for private sector because I think it's important. As businesses, you want to know who you're working with prior to. And so I really do stress job selection. I think it's a great tool for businesses to actually to have. And like I said, we'll have a whole training on that as well. And I want to say that that's probably the last bit. And so I guess what I'll do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm not really sure how many people are on here, but we can open it up to any questions or concerns or anything that anyone may have. If not, I know things will be given out to everyone as they see fit. And I believe that you guys have my contact information as well. So if anyone has any questions, concerns, or anything like that, you can shoot me an email. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Amy, thank you so much.
Yes.
Once again, for folks who jumped on late, this is Kate from DSLBD. I've been in the chat. I haven't seen any questions come through the chat, but if you have a question, please feel free to drop that question in the chat. Please feel free to raise your hand. We have one call-in user, so I'm going to send that person an option to unmute, just in case they do have any questions. You're unmuted. For our call-in user, did you have any questions? Sounds like maybe not, and that's no worries. But I see the chat has its hand raised, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute chat.
Okay.
Assuming you can hear me, thank you for the presentation. And I apologize if I missed this, but I'm curious if you are looking for someone who has maybe certain skill set, background, or even interest. How would you go about that in this process?
So with the specific skill set, that's why job selection is very important. So let's say there's some businesses, they just can't get to the career fair. And so when we open up job selection, what that does is based on the career field that you would put under your registration. Let's say, for instance, it's IT. So, or maybe it's graphic design and you're looking for someone to create a website or whatever it might be. So what you would do is when you're doing job selection, it's going to break out by career interest. And so you'll have a pool of all of these young people that are specific to IT or graphic design or food service. And then what you have the opportunity to do is look at those resumes and look for those certain skill sets. Like that we do have quite a few, like we have James Davis Construction. So they usually take 2 interns a year, but they're looking for specific people who are interested in trade. They look for a specific age group. So you can tailor it to that as well. I mean, like I said, whether it's food service, hospitality, IT, graphics, administrative, those resumes will show you whether or not they have those skill sets that you're looking for. And then at that point, you could reach out to those participants. And like I said, you could, have a over the phone interview. Some of our hosts even set up like a Teams call, a Zoom, whatever social platform you would want to utilize just to get, and our government agency does that a lot too. So I'm really big on job selection. And I do think that it's important to find a perfect match for the summer for your organization to have a successful for both ways. And then let's say, for instance, you are a host partner this year and you find someone, maybe someone in college who's kind of doing something on the lines of, what you're looking for. Let's say it works out well this year for you. Next year, you can have that same person come back. And a lot of times what happens is you get a college person who's interested in that background and you're giving them this experience on top of what they're learning in college. And so by the time that they graduate, 1 or 2 things happen. You've set them up really well for a position in that career field, or you wind up hiring them because you work with them for 3 or 4 years and they've just grown so much and you feel like they would be a great asset to your team. And so we've been seeing more and more of that. Last year with job selection, we had about 35 young people be hired after the summer because they fit right into the mold, and it worked out really well for both people. So you can kind of do that as well.
Amy, thank you for that. And I'll remind folks, if you do have questions, please feel free to raise your hand or drop them in the chat. I will confirm a couple folks have asked. We will email the slides and the recording. Amy's email address is dropped in the chat again if you want to reach out to her, as well as the link if you want to sign up. And then we do have a question that came in, Amy.
Okay.
Specifically, is there any specific criteria a business would need to meet to qualify as a host?
I would say no, not really. I mean, other than the fact, let's say you can't have your business in your home unless it is completely separate from your dwelling that you reside in. We do have some daycare providers, of course, that may have their dwelling in their upstairs and then their business down in, their, which they have to have a separate entrance and things of that nature. But that would be probably the only thing that would probably deter you from being a host would be to have your business in a home that's not separate. Usually that would be that's probably it. And then of course, like that's why we come out and do the pre-site visit, because until that pre-site visit is done and they sign off that it's a good site, then but that's generally it. I mean, maybe you don't have a fire extinguisher and they'll say, okay, you got to get a fire extinguisher before a young person comes to there. That's probably the only thing that I've really seen, is that, or they have they're trying to have the site in their home.
Thank you for that. We've got another hand raised, so I'm going to go to Color Key. You are unmuted, so feel free to ask your question.
Hey, so I was wanted to know that, yes, because I want to go back to the sites. So as far as the sites, say for instance, my residents have a community center. Would I be able to use that?
Yes, you can use a community center if that would be the place, and they've given you permission to use the community center. You would be able to use the community center to, and that's where we have like a lot of our community-based organizations. Also, if you don't have a space for the summer, you can also go through DCPS, and I can give, let me drop that information in the chat as well. Really quickly, let me go to my email. If anyone is also looking for a space for the summer, you can actually go through DCPS, and I'm going to put the email that you can reach out to them, and you can, and I want to say it's like $30 a day. But if you have a community center that is willing to allow you to utilize their space for the summer, you can use that space for the summer, and that is where you would be hosting your young people during the summer. But like I said, DCPS, you can utilize their space. You can contact that email if you're looking for space for the summer. And I will say they have a deadline of March the 3rd to get your paperwork in. And the only reason being is because, the principal has to sign off on it. And so they want to make sure that they can get your paperwork in and finalized prior to the start of the program.
Is it March 3rd or April 3rd?
May the 3rd for the cutoff to get your paperwork in for DCPS. Yeah, for DCPS, if you were trying to utilize one of the schools, yeah, so May the 3rd for DCPS to get your paperwork in. But they're really, really nice over at DCPS, and there's a lot of different DCPS schools that you can utilize for the summer, and a lot of our host partners utilize DPS for the summer for their programming.
And one more thing, you dropped the link to sign up in the chat, correct?
Summerjobs.dc.gov.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will also send over to Kate the host registration, which will give you a step-by-step tutorial. I broke it down like step-by-step for you on how to register. So I will make sure that I get that over to her as well once we get off the call, and she can forward that to everybody as well who's interested in signing up.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We had another question that came in the
Okay.
chat, Amy, and I think you partially answered this, but I think
Okay.
the question is, do you ever place multiple youth at one work site? And I think you referenced at least having two at some work sites, but how does, maybe another way to phrase that is, how does DOES and the summer youth program determine how many youth might be placed at a given placement?
So we have a ratio for in-person, which is 1 to 25. So I know that's extremely a lot, but you can host up to 25 young people. I would caution just because it can become very overwhelming, especially with you're trying to run your business and supervise young people. If I would really say, if you're going to be a new host site this summer, I would probably start with one. If you have like maybe a food service, or you feel like you could do two or three, but really it's a 1 to 25 ratio. But I just try to, tell especially my new partners until they can get their feet wet, see how things go a little bit, maybe just, hey, I'm just going to take one young person this year. And then you can work your way up. Some people, especially like in food service, they can, take 8 or 9, and they put them on a different schedule, but just making sure that they're being supervised. But that's what I generally just try to just be cautious with signing up for the first time, and possibly just, taking one young person. But, if it's me, oh, okay, I can supervise 2 or 3 young people. You could do that as well.
Thank you for that. I'm not seeing any more questions or hands. I know I've got a couple of questions, Amy,
Okay.
myself, that I want to make sure to ask, but if you are
Sure.
online and have more questions, please feel free to raise your hand or drop it in the chat. But Amy, I didn't see an exact deadline of when hosts should apply. I feel like it might be sooner rather than later is good, but I don't know if that's something you could share some guidance on.
Well, with OYP, we don't really have a deadline for host partners. I will say that. We take host partners all the way up to the very first day. But for me, really, in order to, especially if you're a new host, I really always say sign up sooner than later. So I would really, if you're trying to get the Career Expo in, which if you're a new host partner, I'm really trying to make sure that you have preferential treatment to get into that. If you're trying to get with the orientations and really get the training instead of just being given PowerPoints, I would definitely say you need to sign up probably by the end of March. Now, if you're not really interested in doing the Career Expo and you are like, okay, then I would definitely say by April 15th. And I see someone put something, yeah, okay, April 18th. And that will be at Arena Stage from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Is where the Career Expo will be.
And you have to sign up by the end of March to get into that, right?
Yes. Because we'll be sending out the invite, and it's a first come, first serve basis, because of course Arena Stage is only so big, but we have both floors. So I think we do about 110 host partners, but of course it's across all sectors. I would love to have all 100 for my private sector hosts. We have about 242 private sector partners that have already signed up for the program. And we have about 597 hosts that have signed up. But then again, we've also, right now we have about 20,000 applications for the summer. So this is the most we've ever had. There's a lot of young babies, that's been generating. So it's been really, really good to see. And so we're still certifying young people. I think the last day that we will certify will be this upcoming Saturday. And so once we finish certification, our young people will go through their orientation. And then of course, that's when we'll have the Career Expo, and then their youth portal will be able to be open. And that's why I was saying, like hosts really put in those job descriptions in detail, because they'll be able to go in and see those job descriptions, just like hosts will be able to go in and see their resumes. So I really like to create perfect. I mean, I already have hosts that were in the program, you know, before. They're already sending me, hey, I want these young people back this year. So that to me is really good. I do see where it says someone has asked, how can they sign up for the expo? So the way that it works is they'll create a link or what's called a booking. And I will send that out in an email to all of my private sector hosts. And when I mean, like, I'm right, my desk is literally right next to the person who gives me the okay. So when he gives the okay, I got first dibs, and I try to tell everybody, as soon as you get that email from me, and I'm gonna put the little high importance thing on it, you guys need to sign up right then and there. But for any new host partners, I'm gonna make sure that you get preferential treatment. Let's say, I don't know, you're in a meeting and you don't sign up for like an hour later. You know, I just want to make sure, like, you know, my new host partners get that experience too. But as soon as the link becomes available, I send it out, and then I would say sign up ASAP.
Thank you for that. So I don't know if I see any more questions. I'm going to keep an eye. And my last question, Amy, is actually, I think, a little bit more of a broad question. I think that a lot of folks who are on the line are actually probably pretty familiar with SYEP. It's in its 45th year. Thousands of youth who are supported every year. So I started the program just with the introduction about this being a fantastic program, an amazing program. And I'm just curious if you could share, just from your perspective, or any stories that you've seen, just, something to wrap us up, thinking about just really the impact of this truly is.
Okay. So a lot of the things that I get, especially like from host partners, they were once in the program at some point, or their mom or dad. I mean, this is how far this goes back, is, people were actually in the program. And, of course, the stipends have, changed a little bit. And I will say, our 22 to 24-year-olds are the only ones that make minimum wage, but it is an opportunity for young people to have a job for the summer. I would say my experience overall has been great. I love my host partners, you guys, like, that's my job, is to, get new host partners, build a relationship, build trust, and to keep you guys. And that's why I say being transparent for me is very important. And the reason being is because, I mean, let's face it, we all turn on the TV every day. We all see what's going on around the world and in the district, right? And so that is really what we're trying to gear towards. We have started a middle school exploration program, which has just started this year. It's an initiative. So of course, we couldn't really take as many. And at the end of the day, what's really great about it is we're trying to get these young people at 9 now instead of 14, because we feel like the young people that are committing a lot of the crimes are, of course, 12 and 13. So, by the time they're 14 and they come to us, maybe, it might be too late, or maybe not, but maybe you need to give a little bit more TLC, right? So, when you're dealing with a big pool of young people, and I will say, like, during certification this year, I have met some amazing, amazing young people coming up. And I mean, their grades are fantastic. Oh my God. I mean, lots. I mean, I met a young man, I want to say he's 17, and he worked at Raytheon last year in another program. And he literally is doing mechanical engineering and all that stuff and robotics at 17. And so it's just great to see. And so as I'm meeting these young people, I'm also vetting them myself for my host partners like you guys, right? Because I want to be able to connect people that I'm meeting. And so I had a young man last year who had come to me for a transfer, and I had put him at one of my sites. And I was like, if you go there, you got to do a good job, because let me tell you something, Miss Shelley, she don't play up there. And like, if you don't do a good job, she's going to fire you. And so she had called me a couple of days later, and I'm like, uh-oh, because I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character if I'm really talking to a young person. And she said, well, it's about Jameer. And I said, oh my God, what happened? She was like, well, did you know that he was in a wheelchair? well, when he came to me, he wasn't in one. So he doesn't need the wheelchair all the time. And actually, you guys can all go look this up because it's on LinkedIn and Instagram. Um, they wound up hiring him after the summer. He is still employed. He is now getting benefits. And they actually, the president came down from Donahoe Companies and gave him a job at our closing ceremony. And there wasn't a dry eye in the sight, and it was amazing. So those are the things why I do what I do. And it still makes me emotional when I think about it. So, but I promise you that we have some amazing young people in this program. And so you're gonna have bad apples and stuff like that, but if you give a young person an opportunity, I promise you, you know, you may not be disappointed. So that's probably it. So
Amy,
sorry guys, like that's my little that's my little baby. So he actually came up to certify the other day, and he came up to certify his brother and sister, and it's great. And he came up in his wheelchair, and he gets around on the metro if the bus won't come pick him up. And I mean, he's still up there, and now he's talking about going to college because Marriott will transfer him anywhere now. And what's great about it is we got a lot of Marriotts on the board this year. And so I'm hoping that we can, hospitality is really, really booming. But, he was like, Miss Amy, they're firing people left and right, but they're not going to fire me. And so that's what I mean. Like, it's just about giving a young person, that little bit of, and now he's talking about possibly moving up to Northwest so he can get an apartment that's closer to home. And with him having a disability, there's resources that will help him get those things. And so, of course, it's like anything that you do when you are an employer, like there's going to be people that might not work out and you might have to, terminate them. But then it's the ones that you get that are really, really good. And so, it's just kind of like, that's why I say, give it a chance, let it help your business, help a young person. And, um, that's just kind of like my take on my experience of it all. So, you can't do this work without being emotional if you don't love kids. So that's how I look at it too. You got to love what you do.
Well, Amy, I want to say thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for the overview today. I think that's super helpful.
Yes.
I think some of the folks who are on the line may be following up with some additional questions.
Okay.
So whether you are on the line or you're watching this recording later, we'll be able to share Amy's contact information,
Yes.
link for how you sign up.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that she said that, you can keep signing up until the program opens, but it's better to sign up sooner. And there are a lot of benefits to doing that. So we'll share all of that information over. So I want to say thank you to you, Amy. And I want to say thank you to everyone who's on the line who's thinking about being a host employer for our summer youth.
Yes. I think there's someone that asked a question that says that the role is in the capacity of assistance, is travel permitted for the youth? Are you meaning a youth with disabilities? Is that what you're referring to? So I will say one last thing. We do have a youth with special needs. I work with two colleagues, Ms. Nelson and Mr. Ryan, and they do amazing with our youth with disabilities because we believe that everybody deserves an opportunity. So if you do sign, if you do sign up as a host partner, I will send out a questionnaire that if you are willing to take a youth with special need, and then there will be a list of different of course, special needs, whether it's autism, a physical impairment, et cetera, because we are looking for host partners to take somebody that has special needs too. And we do have those host partners. And it's nothing, if you say no, that's okay too, because your business might not be able to do that. But I would send out a questionnaire to ask those questions as well. That in turn would be given over to our special needs liaisons, and then they would contact you and work with you to get a young person with you for the summer. And they're amazing people. They do a really good job, and our youth with special needs, like I said, they deserve an opportunity too. So we serve everybody.
And I think she clarified her question just a little bit.
Okay.
So if they need to go outside of state for an event and the rule is administrative.
So if they're over 18, they're technically an adult. So we have some host partners that have events. Like, we have some, like they do like we have DJs that do events. And they have young people for the summer. So like they might be in Maryland, they might be in Virginia, they might be in DC. And I don't know, maybe y'all go to Pennsylvania one weekend. If they're over the age of 18, like I said, they would be an adult. Now, if they're under the age of 18, of course, you would have to get parent consent to do that. However, if that's something that you're interested in doing, you would be able to do that as well.
Well, thank you again. Thank you, Amy, for all that you are
Yes.
doing. Thank you, everyone on the line who's considering this. And, we're just happy to be able to help continue to connect more small businesses to opportunities like this that support both your business and support our city in such a huge way. So
Absolutely.
thank you, everybody.
Sorry for my emotional little output, but that was a special thing. But if any of you guys have an opportunity, you can go look up our closing ceremony. I believe it's on LinkedIn and it's on our Office of Youth Programs Instagram page as well. And I suggest that you guys go check that out too. Our Twitter page, all that stuff, and give you some other good tidbits. But I thank you guys so much for having me on today. Kate, I will send you over the host registration PDF as well. Is there anything else that I need to send over to you other than that?
I think that's it.
Okay. All right.
End our recording.